Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. We're on episode 115, and I love it, the fact that we've had so many episodes, and the journey this podcast has taken, and the messages we receive on a weekly basis. I feel very, very blessed. So I always love starting the podcast by just saying thank you. Thank you to all our listeners. Thank you to everyone that's contributed to this podcast and kind of allowed us to serve in the way that we can. I feel so very blessed. This podcast would not be what it is without my amazing co-host introducing the amazing, the stunning, the amazing healer, the now published author, and the beautiful Stacey Brown. Stace, do you want to introduce yourself?
So good to be here again with all of you. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from around the world. I also read Akashic records. I am a spiritual mentor and coach and a recently published author. My book is called Journey to Soul Center: Discovering the Gift of Surrender, and it's available on Amazon and Audible. Really looking forward to this conversation today.
Thank you, Stace. Hi, everybody. I'm Nims. I'm also an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, obviously a podcast host and a podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. And I love the work I get to do. I love to guide people to shine the light. I really do feel like it really is that time. When we recorded this, there's been a kind of major planetary shift with Pluto shifting into Aquarius, and I really do feel like we're going into a new vibration. And I've talked about this on the previous Akashic downloads, etc. But it really is a time where we need to put ourselves at the center and truly shine our light. And that's why we picked this week's topic. So this week's topic is all around living your passion, following your dreams. And the reason that we came with this episode is I chose to leave my corporate role. And today is the first day when this episode comes out. It's the first day of me being dedicated to creating this healing space. And that's why we felt it's a perfect time to kind of pick this topic. And I guess before we kind of delve into the topic, part of living your dreams and is kind of what we do on a day-to-day basis. The mentorship program that me and Stace channeled through the Akashic Records really is focused on you living your passion and following your dreams. We love guiding people to release the programming, to really understand who they are and shine the light in the way they're meant to be. So if you're ready for that, and if our voice resonates, book a free discovery call and we can take you through the program. So as far as this week's topic goes, Stacey, I'm going to ask you about how you feel about the topic and also the mentorship program. How do you feel about living your passion, following your dreams? You're somebody that has inspired me in many ways. You've changed so much. You've embraced so much change in the space I've known you. And you have, in whatever way that looks like, followed your dreams. So how does this topic feel to you and everything you're doing in your world?
It's so interesting because I have been in a space for like the last, I don't know, 24 hours or so of kind of revisiting the past and how did I get here and kind of thinking about the last couple of years and what has unfolded. And I would say that I knew that I wasn't okay where I was, but I didn't know how to get to where I wanted to be. And I think it took a process of deep surrender for me to even embark on this journey. Um, how does it feel to be living my dreams? I think it's a work in progress. I think every day I am moving in a direction of being true to myself, which is the dream, I believe, to show up as the most authentic version of yourself, helping other people and encouraging them on the journey. And for me, I spent so many years doing what I thought would make other people happy. And ironically, right before this recording, we were working with a client who is struggling with the same thing. He is making himself uncomfortable where he is in an effort to make everybody else comfortable. And I feel like that's the space that I stayed in for a really long time, especially when you're in an industry like the beauty industry where your entire reputation is about people pleasing. And so I knew that very well. But there was something in me saying, there's more, there's more, there's more for you to do. And it has always been a dream of mine to write a book. I've always thought about, I would love to be able to do it. And then I would talk myself out of it. And even now, a year after publishing, almost exactly, I'm still in awe that I made that dream a reality. So, how does it feel? Some days really uncomfortable, some days blissful, but there's definitely a different vibration that I have now because of this journey than what I had when I was in the space of people pleasing and doing things for everybody else. And it's interesting because I'm still in a service oriented space, right? But there's a lot more authenticity and vulnerability that goes into the work that we do now. So I would say I am grateful for the opportunity to be pursuing my dreams. And I am equally excited and terrified.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. You know, it's interesting, and actually, in many ways, for both of us, our passions have changed, and that's okay, right? You know, you had a passion for hairdressing. I remember you talking about it. You talk about it in your book too. It's that you thought that's what you're going to do for all your life, right? And it evolved and it changed. And for me, I've been I'll probably share my age, but I've been in the corporate world over 30 years now, right? And I've been in the same company 18 years, and that's quite unusual. But also the company I've been in has changed a lot in that time. It's grown a lot. It's been a big part of my life. It felt like at the beginning of a cycle when I joined. And I was debating leaving that role and dedicating myself on the healing side for a while. And this podcast, the mentorship, all of that side of the world is getting busier. Um, Kind of made it much easier, but also being part of that space for 18 years and choosing to leave it um, was harder is the wrong thing to say. I guess it was more, I was just resistance to it for a while. I kept saying, well, wait a little while, wait a little while. And sure, part of it was the being safe with the salary, right? A monthly salary. But it just something happened. I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions, all the rest of it, but something happened between Christmas and New Year's, even over December. I think we talked about it quite a lot. I think we both knew that time was ready and was coming, and just the beginning of the year, feeling the new vibration, the mentorship side getting busier, and also the Akashic record side getting busier, and the thought of kind of starting a new cycle and around the corporate world just felt alien to me. And it's not like the team I work for, they're a great team. Um, I enjoy what I do, but the passion around it wasn't there. And I'm sure there's some people in my world think I'm a little crazy, right? Why would I take that risk? And I'm sure there's some people out there that think, looking for good roles and thinking, well, why would I leave a role, right? And we all have a life journey, right? We're all a soul having human experience. And for me, the journey that I've been on with this podcast, the journey I've been on with the last few years, knowing that I'm here to do what I'm here to do in terms of guide people, to heal in the same way I heal at the same time. It just felt like the right thing to do. There was something inside me that knew that I'm here to do something different, and I followed that passion. And for me, that's what living your passion is taking that risk, right? I really do believe that if you follow your passion, the universe will support you. Now, you've still got to do the healing. You've still got to meet the universe halfway. And it's not like you're going to click your fingers, right? Stace was on about it's an ongoing thing, right? I mean, and that's the thing. It's about embracing who you are. It's about embracing and being honest with yourself about what your passion really is. And Stace, you were on about a client that we just had a call with, and that's what juiced me. That's what seeing people shine their light and kind of doing what they're here to do lifts me up like so much differently than the corporate world could ever do. And don't get me wrong, when I started in the corporate world, I was determined to become very successful there. I was determined to become very senior and do really well. And honestly, I did it. But I've changed. My spiritual awakening, what I went through, um, changed what's important to me, changed what my dreams were. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, oh, by the way, you're going to get this senior role and you're going to be doing this, I'd be like, oh my God, that's great. That's exactly what I want to do. But life's interesting, right? Life's interesting that things change. And I've been open to that change. There is a part of me that, sure, there's a big part of me that's excited and really wants to create and really wants to do what I'm here to do. But there's a part of me that is scared, right? I'm embarking on this new role. And again, if I was to be honest with myself, I think I've waited to a point where it's probably safe for me to make this move now, because this podcast and the mentorship clients we have, etc., allows me to have a little bit of a soft landing. But you never know what's around the corner, right? The world that we're in, we've all seen over the last few years that things change very rapidly. So, when you're employed, it is safer. So, but there's a knowingness inside you. And the reason I guess I'm sharing this is, maybe just for one listener, maybe there's something happening inside you that you know what your passion is, you know what you're here to do. And maybe there's something you can start on the side in parallel to whatever you do. Because that's the way I started this business, right? I kind of saw my role as a way of funding my dreams and really kind of driving me to really do what I'm here to do. And maybe I stayed too long, maybe but who knows, right? I haven't got a time machine, so I'm excited about living my passion. I'm excited about the work that I'm here to do. I'm also excited to focus on it 100%, because there was a part of me that was split. There was a part of me that was spending time on corporate calls and then doing the healing calls, and also at the time I knew that I wasn't fully invested in the role that I'm doing and in the corporate side. And I'm one of these people that if I'm going to do something, I really want to do it properly, right? I want to give it my all. And I've known for a while that I've not been giving my all. And I've also known that if I stuck with it, I would be giving less and less and less of me. And is that fair to me? Is that fair to the people I work with? And I get it, right? Some people are in a role where it's survival mode. And I get that too, right? And I feel very privileged to be able to do what I do. But at the same time, I also recognize I've done a lot of healing that I need to do to get here. So again, for all our listeners, let me ask, what is the healing? What do you need to do to live your passion? What is your passion? What is it that really excites you? And what is the healing that you feel that you need to do to truly embrace it? We had a podcast recently on the vibration of money. And I feel like a lot of people would probably like, well, I need money to do well, then maybe you've got to think about what's your relationship with money? What's your vibration around you? What's your vibration around living your passion? What are your dreams? Because I talked about earlier, we're coming into a new vibration where I really feel it's all about you. It's all about putting you at the center of your world. And that goes against our programming, right? Our programming says that we should put everybody else first and ourselves second. But what if in this new paradigm we shifted? What if in this new paradigm we truly learn to put ourselves first? And what if when we do that, our light becomes so much brighter and we can help so many more people? I really believe that we are all here to serve in some kind of way. So let me ask you, how are you here to serve? And you've always got to start with serving you first, but then how are you here to serve the wider community? So Stace, let me ask you, what's your vision? What's your dreams? How are you here to serve?
So I would say that this is something that's continuing to evolve and grow. Um, and what do I mean by that? I mean, I envisioned myself behind the chair in the beauty industry until the day I retired. I knew that I was clear that I wanted to help people, and that part of the vision hasn't changed. But the evolution of how I'm doing that has been shifting and changing and evolving. And I feel like people in the world are looking for something more. They're looking to understand themselves better. There's more awareness that there's more to life than just the mundane routine. And in that hunger from people that I saw in the beauty industry for so long came the understanding that so many people don't know why they're here. They don't know what their passion is. Maybe they haven't felt free to even think about pursuing a passion. And that has invoked in me the desire to help people on that journey. So I feel like a piece of pottery still on the spinning wheel. Like I really feel like I'm being shaped and molded right now into what God wants me to be and what he wants me to do. You know, it's interesting because I feel like I kind of got thrust into this, and I don't share this often, or at least I haven't on this platform, but I came home 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago in May, to find that my marriage had ended. Like our marriage was over. And in the ending of my marriage was the selling of the marital home. And in the marital home, I was running my business. And so I don't even know that I really understood what that meant until I walked out the door with, a couple bags in hand. I don't think that I understood what was happening and the choice that I was making. But it was like in that moment, I had the choice to either go and find another salon where I could work and build my business, or I had the option of pursuing this work. And I knew that I could help people with my intuitive abilities, but it wasn't until you and I were together in your kitchen that we channeled the program that we use now for people. And I feel like God is in control of this. I feel like I'm along for the ride because certain things, yes, have been a decision that I've made, but then I make the decision and then there's an outcome. And I feel like I've been going more off of what feels right than what I think is right? Because what I think is right is all head and ego. And in that space, I could easily like go back to doing hair and doing what I've always done before. And it was comfortable and it was predictable. And the answer has just been no. Like, I just know that I have to keep going with this. And I know that there's a force driving me. And I believe with everything in me that it's still unfolding, right? I know that I love mentoring people. I know helping people in that way lights my soul on fire. I know that our clients are seeing incredible results. I mean, we just had a call with a client literally right before we were recording this. And our client said that in the like decade long experience he's had with taking courses and doing mentorship programs and stuff like that. He's never had anything like this that compares, and that it's really making him go deep. That is the fuel for me to keep going, even though I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. The I can have like the vision, right? Like the overall like sensation of what I'm meant to do, but then God works out the details. That's really how I see it. It's like I feel like God gives me this you're meant for more kind of feeling, or you're meant to help people kind of feeling. And I lean into that feeling, and then God shows me what he's going to do with it. I mean, it really does feel that way. Like part of it is me, yes, but another huge part of it is that surrender and that letting go and that saying, okay, I am up for whatever you have coming my way.
I love it. I love it. And it's just it's so true, right? And I talk about it before, the illusion of control. If you think about the last few years and everything we've all been through, was any of it really in our control? I mean, could anybody have imagined they would all be under lockdown at the same time? Um, and even when I think about my decision of leaving the corporate world, that role, I don't really feel like it was a decision. I feel like it was just the no-brainer that it was time, it was time, it was time. And, every time I think about the business that we've been creating, the mentorship, um, in the early days when you talked about going back into hairdressing and, that world, something would happen that would kind of show you that actually, no, you're not meant to do that. And I remember those times. And it's really interesting how you can see things in someone else's world to help you see things in yours. And, and I think about the listener and, I truly believe that if you're open to the magic of the world, if you're open to seeing and really being open to your gifts and open to why you're here, the universe will meet you halfway. And it is scary, right? There is, and I'm sure all of us want a crystal ball and want to know what the future holds and don't want to take risks and, want everything to be, so sewn up. But I don't think we're meant to see it. I don't think we're meant to in this phase of what the planet's going through. I think it's all about taking a risk. It's all about truly living the vision of who we are and trying to fulfill those dreams and being open to those dreams evolving and changing and over time. And, I don't know where we're going to be in a year's time, Stace, but if I think about it, 2 years ago, almost to the date, you were in the UK and we channeled the mentorship program that's changing lives. I think about a year ago where we were and you had just published your book and your book was in your hand, just based on an earlier call. I was just looking through the photos from a year ago and I have a video almost a year to the date where you had your book in your hand and we were recording videos of you. And then a year before that, we were channeling the mentorship program. And it's just, I look back and I realize that God has shown off. Maybe not in the way I expected, but God has shown off. And again, for our listeners, I encourage you to look at the last couple of years. And it's so easy to get lost in what's happening in today's world and kind of the problems that we're facing. Because let's be honest, there's a lot happening on the planet. But what if you could look through the last couple of years and really consider how has things shone for you? How has things gone for you that you really have become different? What are the gifts that you've activated? What are the things that you've let go of that don't feed you? And then what if you could take time out and truly journal about what is your passion? What are your dreams? And what maybe take a step today in fulfilling that passion, that dream. When I started in the corporate world, did I ever think I was gonna leave the corporate world to focus purely on the healing side? Didn't have a clue I was going to do that. But the universe has pushed me more and more into the healing side, and it has been a roller coaster. When I met Stace, I don't think she told me that next couple of years was going to be a roller coaster. We joke about it now, but it really has been a roller coaster, right? And I think it's been a roller coaster for a lot of us. And, when I was thinking about this topic and I was thinking about my journey, there is a part of me that feels a little bit bad and feel a bit, because I can feel that so many people are going through so many things. But ultimately, I want to do what I'm here to do. And if me sharing my voice helps one person, if me mentoring and thinking about the people we're mentoring and helps them to truly live their purpose, and they then affect the people around them, and those people then affect the people around them, with the ripple effect, I know that we can touch many people. And that's what inspires me. The other thing that I just started thinking about, the client we were just talking about, um, I kind of realized we're not here to fix people, right? So if somebody around us is meant to go through something, who am I to stop them? I want to be able to give a safe space for people to grow. Like when I started this podcast, I had no idea where it was going to go. I had no idea how many people it was going to reach. I had no idea that I was going to get a co-host. Um, I just got the message from through one of my mentors, Cedra, who's no longer in the human realm, that my voice is my gift, that I should use it. So I started this podcast. It was a passion project. So again, maybe for the listeners, what is your passion project that you could start today that maybe changes your life in years to come? Because again, so many of us want to know what the end game is, but it's never about the end game, because where are we trying to get to? We're always like, when this happens, maybe I'll be happy. When this happens, maybe I'll be happy. Or, when I get through this period, or when it's the new year. That's not what life's about. The life, we're a soul having a human experience. So really what it's about is this moment. So again, I encourage all the listeners, as you listen to this podcast, what are you feeling in this moment? What joy, what beauty, what amazement can you feel in this moment? And then from that moment, what is the vision of who you are? If you could really focus on what are you trying to build, what does that look like? What can you start today that may be your future in years to come? Because like I said earlier, I think we're getting to that phase where I really feel that we've got to shine our own light and really ask, what are we here to serve? So, I mean, Stace, what advice would you give our listeners who are maybe listening to this and thinking, well, kind of it's easy for these guys, they know what they're here to do. I'm not sure what I'm here to do. I'm not sure what my gifts are. I'm not sure, what my purpose is. What would your advice be?
I would say me too. I was in the same space. I would say I'm not there now, but I would say I've been there. And for me, it was a combination of things. The surrender had to happen first, right? I had to give up the idea of what I thought my life was going to look like for whatever God had in store for me. And so there was an actual surrender process that I went through to make that decision. And then it was being open to mentorship, to people coming alongside of me, kind of counseling me and helping me. I believe that there has to be an understanding of who you are and why you are the way you are before you can execute pursuing your dreams or your passion. And for me, it was a decades long journey of healing and being in the space where I was capable of surrendering because I trusted in my higher power and I trusted that I was going to be guided. And then it was getting still. Okay, so I've surrendered. Now I'm going to sit back and be quiet and see what is in this for me. And it's so interesting because the path looks so different from anything that I could have anticipated. So, all that energy that went into worrying and stressing and like all of that ends up not amounting to anything because the path looks totally different than what I would have expected. Listen, I was a hairdresser with a super successful career and a family and a home and responsibilities and just this kind of rapid fire pace of life with a house full of children. And God was like, I want you to do something different. And I was like, okay, tell me what it is. And he's like, I want you to help people. I'm like, how do I do that? And here we are with this mentorship program that has made a global impact. I just sit there and I'm in awe because it makes me realize that God's vision for my life is so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than the thoughts that I have. It's so much bigger than the doubts that I have. It's made me realize that whatever is meant for you will find you. It will. The question is, are you open for it to happen?
Hmm. Super powerful. It is shifting from I think to I feel, and trusting. That's such a big part of what the future holds, right? And is that it's really taking that leap of faith and not knowing what the future holds. Like I said, starting this podcast, you know, one of the most, I guess, traumatic experience of my mentor friend leaving this realm in March 2020. There was a part of me that knew that she is exactly where she's meant to be. But it's like I always had expectations that we were going to do things together and do programs together and the rest of it. And it's like her leaving this realm kind of called into question everything about who I am. But actually, those traumatic experiences actually, in many ways, defined who I am.
You know, you've never said that before about Sidra's passing. I don't think I've ever heard you say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it was really weird. There was a knowingness in me that she's exactly where she's meant to be, and I have always, I always knew that I was playing safe with her because she could be at the forefront and I could be behind. I could be supporting her. She'd always called me her trump card, and it's interesting when the universe takes away your safety blanket in many ways, and it was. I go back to that feeling of inner conflict. There's a part of me that was so annoyed because, like, hold on, I had all these plans, and then, but hold on, what does my future hold now? And then I found the Akashic records, and she guided me to the Akashic records. But then the Akashic records led me to this podcast and led me to the mentorship program. And but yes, it's really interesting how your most challenging times somehow guides you to what you're here for. And you talked about your destiny, and I've always known I'm here and have a big destiny. But in somehow it's always scared me, right? It's like, is it just my ego talking, or is it real? Doesn't even matter. And then, actually, I posted on social media today about me leaving the corporate world, and I was kind of nervous about doing it. And it's just beautiful to see the outpouring love that I've got today, just the support, and just people messaging me about how I'm inspiring them to maybe look at things differently. And it's just really interesting. And then I look at the mentorship clients and kind of all the growth that they're having, and I'm like, if we can just stop and look at the beauty around us, maybe we'll truly see a different world. And I know, and I'm very blessed in many ways, and I'm very humble about that. I recognize that, you know, God, the universe has supported me in so many beautiful ways. But I also recognize that I've done the work. So, but actually shifting from I think to I feel, really asking myself, what is my passion? What do I really want to do? But also appreciating those things that when I'm living my passion, when I'm kind of guiding people, mentoring them, whatever that looks like, actually that is my passion. I love helping people, but I've also realized that the reason I love helping people because I want to make an impact in their lives. It's that one of my favorite phrases is it's not about the breath you take, it's about the moments that take your breath away. And I love creating magic moments with me, with my clients, with my family. And that's my passion. And okay, what's going to allow me to do that in a much more bigger way is creating the healing business. If you think about, what's your eulogy going to be? I never wanted my eulogy to be, Nims had a very successful corporate career and, he made a lot of money. I mean, that's not really, I know that's not my destiny. So maybe that's another good question to ask our listeners. What's your eulogy? How do you want to be remembered? Maybe that's a great way of seeing what your passion is. I have to admit there's a bit of me that is scared about the future, right? There is Stacey, I've seen you go ups and downs in kind of creating this healing business and the fears, and I recognize that there is a risk, there is but at the same time, I'm excited. I trust in whatever God, the universe has in store for me, but it's very different to what I look like, and that again, good message for our listeners. Just because you had a passion a few years ago, it's okay for that passion to be different because we've been through so much. When I think about what's happening on the planet right now, it feels like mm, there's a mass like an upgrade happening in all of us. There's so much happening inside of us. Some people are choosing to use that to heal, to kind of go on a spiritual journey, to truly understand what's happening inside. Others are taking that of what's happening inside and it turns into anger, into different things. And most of us are somewhere in the middle. And you know what? It's all okay. Whatever you do is fine. But again, I encourage all our listeners to really take stock and really ask yourself, what is happening on the inside of you? How do you really feel? Are you holding on to things that no longer matter? Are you holding on to relationships that don't no longer serve you? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? And are you truly living your passion? And sometimes again, like I said earlier, we want a complete plan. We want to know if we're going to take a risk, what does the next 5 years hold? And I don't feel like we're in that phase. I don't think that life's going to work that way anymore. But I encourage all our listeners, if activate your gifts, consider what your gifts are. If you feel that you have an empathic energy, then just connect to other people and feel what you feel. And the mentorship program that me and Stace talk about a lot, we talk about it because it's changing lives. We take people on a journey over 12 weeks to really understand your programming, understand what you've been through, not just in this life, but also past lives. We help you to really kind of go on a journey to release all the things you've been holding on to. And you get more out of the program, the more that you put into it. So if you're willing to go deep, and if our voice resonates, it's a soul contract. And if you give us permission, then we'll go deep and help you to understand who you are. And with that understanding, you'll start to get insights into who you really are and really allow you to shine your light differently. We love the work, and we include all sorts of tools and modalities that we've learned, and then you get to choose which ones work for you. So I believe so much in the program. It was channeled through the Akashic Records, and Akashic Records have truly changed my life. For those that haven't heard me talk about it before, Akashic Records are a record of everything your soul's been through, current life, past life, parallel, future life. Everything about you stored through the records, and everything has an Akashic record. Your home, your company, obviously you personally. And when you give us permission to give you a reading, we go deep on and connect with you guys and share a message. And So I mean, it's like once you access your modalities and your gifts, something different starts to open up. And so, what are your gifts? And I'm sure a lot of people say, I don't have gifts, I don't have guides. Our soul has worked really hard for whatever those gifts are, and we all have guides. Just got to trust in our intuition. We've just got to take that moment and truly feel the energy around us and be open to feeling that magic. And Stacey, you heard me say something different I've never said before. Did I respond? Did I answer? Well, what did you hear in me
Mhm.
that I've never said before? I'm curious.
Um, just how it shifted everything for you. And I and how it just kind of sent you into a different space. I don't know, there was something about the way that you worded it that just made me receive it differently. And it's interesting because there's a certain amount of like action that you have to take. And I was talking to a client about this the other day, right? I was teaching her a new modality that utilizes um, action steps that you're willing to take and energetic connection to manifestation as a combination. And she was saying, like, well, I just expect like God's just going to show me, like, he's going to shift things. But I feel like part of that has to be us too, right? So I had to be open to things looking different than what I expected in order to receive what was coming my way. If I had been in the headspace of I'm a hairdresser, that's it, the end, I don't know that I would have been capable of seeing beyond that. And I knew inside of me that there was something more. I didn't know what it was, I didn't understand it. I just knew there was something more. And I felt that feeling for years while doing hair. Not to say I wasn't satisfied with hair, I was, but I felt the sensation of there's more for me. And I don't know if anybody can relate that's listening to this, but like just this feeling of like, I feel like I'm meant for something more. And then I went on this journey that was significant. And through part of it, it took me to rock bottom, right? I mean, I have a son who is, he's 3 years, almost 3 years clean and sober now, but he struggled with addiction and he attempted to take his own life. And those circumstances made me pivot. I had never stopped doing hair since I had started until that time when I had to be his caregiver. I had the identity of a hairdresser and that was my life and that like my clients were my life, like that was it. And going through everything I went through with my son, I had to stop doing hair for a period of time in order to take care of him. And when that happened, it sent me on this like very deep journey of self exploration and discovery. And I think that when we're open to things looking different than what we expected, I really do feel that's when the universe is given permission to show us what that would look like. And my circumstances led me to a space where the life that I had been living didn't fit. I had to play a different role. Now, at the time, I thought, I have no idea how I'm going to recover from this. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I mean, I felt a lot of things, but every step of the way has unfolded differently than what I thought it was going to look like. And therefore, I feel like I'm even more open to what's ahead because I can sit and plan all I want, but God has the final say, like in where he places me, right? I mean, I just remember like flashes, and I've had them several times specifically over the last couple weeks. These flashes of like the God moments. Like I've talked on here about how I wrote a book, but that process was something that I had attempted to do months prior to visiting the UK. And I hired a writing coach and I was like, okay, I'm going to write a book. And then I went through the process with him and it was not at all what I wanted. And so I gave up and I was like, okay, I must have that prompting that I thought that I felt about writing a book must have been wrong. I wasn't meant to write a book. It is what it is. And I was quietly grieving that. I wasn't sharing it with anybody, but I was quietly grieving that. And then I was visiting you. And in the last week of a month-long visit, I had been out in London for the day and I came back to your house and I was like, I've got to write a book. And you were like, okay, that's cool. And I was like, no, now. And it was like this feeling came over me of passionate urgency that I needed to get this book out. And I look back at the experience, and I'm talking everything from the writing of the book to the editing of the book to the book cover to getting the story out multiple times. Like the whole process was so divinely led. It was so divinely led. And I thought that I was going to write this book and it was all of a sudden going to become this huge thing, right? And instead, here we are a year later, and people are still coming out of the woodwork saying, I just read your book, it moved me, whatever, and from different parts of the world. The impact is different than what I thought it was going to look like, but the significance of what it has done for people still blows my mind.
I love it. I love it. I do remember that time. Actually, it's really weird. I didn't just think about it now. It was almost 2 years to the day when you came home. You were here for a month and you came home from that day out in London. And yeah, I don't know how to describe it. You were almost like, I mean, possessed is probably the wrong way of putting it, but there was a certainty in you that we need to get it done. And so in the last week, almost 2 years to the day, we recorded your book. And I had no plans of supporting anybody to write their book, right? It wasn't in my, but there's a weird thing inside me that knew I was meant to support you. And, then it took us a year because it was January that the book was published. So it's like 2 years ago, the process began. A year ago is when it was published. And a year on is when we're talking about, living our passion, following our dreams. And I guess the summary of the conversation is really is our expectations, right? It's that we just have to, and I make it sound easy, and I guess it's not, but we just need to take the first step, one step at a time, one step at a time. So what do you enjoy doing? What's your passion? What's the first thing that you can do? And then take the next step and take the next step. I guess that's the best piece of advice, right? It does, I love the line, I sit and tell God my plans and he laughs, right? Because what if whatever we have planned, the universe, God, our guides, has such a bigger plan for us than we could ever dream of? And what if the way that we think we're going to fulfill our dreams is a totally different way than is actually going to happen? But what if we just took that leap of faith and took the first step, whatever that first step is? That first step could be just booking a discovery call with us. I love what we do. And, I just trust that whoever has a soul contract with us will find us. But maybe that for our listeners, it's something else. Maybe it's embracing some passion that you have about creating something business, something using your creativity, something about, because I do feel for so many people, what you were passionate about a year ago, 2 years ago, it may be different to what you're passionate about now. And are you doing something and just going through the motions of it? Or are you truly embracing who you are, why you're here, and what your destiny is? Stacey, as we say about this podcast, we pick the topic well in advance, but we don't really write lines or comments about what we're going to cover. So I didn't really know what this podcast was going to be. And actually, normally we pick our topics months in advance. This one, I just felt it was a channeled message I received just a couple of days ago because I was thinking about, me changing roles and kind of how much am I going to talk about it and, how just am I going to do it? And actually, there's a part of me that maybe felt that most people thought I'd already be dedicated to this healing business. And maybe they're surprised that I've only just made the decision. Who knows? But I got this, I got a strong pull to really talk about living your passion, fulfilling your dreams, And that's where this came from. So I'm so grateful for this podcast. I'm grateful for the healing it's allowed me to do, and the healing that somehow I really feel it's allowed others to do. And we get so many messages that, I found this podcast when I needed it most. And I don't think that's me. I think that some of it is just God, the universe, your guides directing you to where you need to be in the right moment. So I feel super, super grateful. And as we close out this podcast and this episode, as you know, I'm always going to ask you any messages you have for our listener, but also any general prompts to truly help people to live their passion and fulfill their dreams.
I would say the first thing is, what are you passionate about? So ask yourself the question, what are you passionate about? What gets you excited? What lights your soul up? So start there. And then the next question that I would ask is, if fear were not an option, what would you do? How would you be living your life differently?
Wow, that's so passionate. I love it. It's just how much do we let our fears control us? You know, thank you for this episode, Stace. Thank you for, kind of pushing me, expanding me, inspiring me. Thank you to all the people that have giving us permission to guide them on the mentorship program. Thank you for all the people that listen to this podcast and message us. If there is any messages, anything any topics you would like to cover, please let us know. I think I announced on the last episode is that my plan is for the Wednesday after this episode is released is to go live on Instagram, because what I really want to do is continue the conversation. So if you want to continue this conversation, if you have a question, if there's something you want to share, then follow me on Instagram. Like I said, my plan is to go live on Wednesday after the podcast is released. So this will be on Wednesday the 31st. I'd love for you to follow me and join that conversation. I'm looking for ways to interact more with our listeners. I feel super connected to you guys, and so thank you. And if there's something that we said and you really feel our voice resonates with you in some kind of way and you want to find out more about the mentorship program, the discovery call is free. Reach out to us and we can take you through it. We will have our monthly Zoom session coming up in Feb. It's another great way of just sampling what we do. I love what I get to do. I feel super blessed. And just as we close out, I just want to say thank you. And Stacey, as always, I'm going to hand over to you to close us out.
Thank you, friends, for spending time with us again. I'm hoping that this episode has inspired you to think a little bit more about what you're passionate about and to pursue a life that brings you joy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Sending you all so much love and light. Bye for now.